This is not simply another morning. This is a moment of alignment, a quiet crossing between who you have been, clears throat, and what is now ready to emerge through you. You did not encounter this message by chance. There is an intelligence guiding your focus, timing, and awareness. And right now, it is guiding you inward. Because the most profound transformations never start on the outside, they begin when a decision is made silently within. As you listen, release effort. You are not here to force, fix, or chase anything. You are here to assume, to step into a space where what you desire is not distant but already alive. This morning is receptive, this moment is potent, and today something extraordinary is already making its way toward you. Every morning before the world imposes its demands, before circumstances present their narratives, you quietly step into a state of being. Most people do this unconsciously. They wake and immediately accept yesterday as truth, carrying old emotions, unfinished thoughts, and familiar expectations into a fresh day. But the day does not start on the outside. It begins with the assumption you accept within. The first feeling you dwell in becomes the blueprint for everything that follows. If you awake assuming pressure, delay, or struggle, life mirrors, clears throat that mood back to you. If you wake assuming ease, support, and favorable outcomes, the same law responds with exact precision. The morning is not merely a time on the clock, it is a threshold. What you carry inwardly through that threshold shapes what you encounter outwardly. An assumption is not a fleeting wish or a hope, it is a subtle inner agreement. It is the quiet decision that says, "This is how life is for me." Once this decision is embraced, the mind begins selecting, interpreting, and arranging experiences to confirm it. This is why two people walking through the same day can have completely different experiences. They are not living from the same inner state. When you consciously choose your morning assumption, you are no longer reacting to life. You are guiding it. You are determining in advance how the day will feel, how events will unfold, and how situations will resolve. This does not demand effort or strain. In fact, the more relaxed the assumption, the more potent it becomes. Life responds best to certainty, not force. Consider how differently your day feels when you wake with the inner knowing that things will unfold smoothly. There is less resistance. Conversations flow more easily. Opportunities appear without being hunted. Even challenges lose their emotional weight because you meet them from stability rather than fear or doubt. The mind may attempt to object. It may remind you of past difficulties or unfinished problems. But the purpose of a morning assumption is not to analyze the past. It is to choose the state you will occupy in the present. The past continues only if you assume it must. The instant you embrace something new, the past loosens its hold. A powerful morning assumption is not about specific events. It is about identity. Instead of thinking, "I hope today goes well," you quietly accept, "I am someone for whom days go well." This subtle shift changes everything. Life rearranges itself to reflect who you believe yourself to be. As you move through the day, this assumption becomes self-confirming. You notice small validations, a moment of ease, an unexpected solution, a sense of calm where there was tension. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of the state you selected at the beginning of the day. Even if the outer world seems unchanged at first, remain faithful to your assumption. The unseen always moves before the seen. What you establish internally in the morning sets processes in motion that unfold throughout the day, often in ways you could not predict or plan. When you understand this, mornings become sacred. They are no longer rushed or automatic. They are intentional, clears throat. You realize that you are not stepping into a day, that the day is stepping into you. Choose wisely. Choose gently. Choose confidently. Because the assumption you adopt in the morning does not just influence the day, it becomes the day. Most people move through life thinking they are trying to attract better circumstances, relationships, or opportunities. They wait, visualize, hope, and wonder why change feels slow. But life does not respond to wanting, it responds to being. What you experience externally is not something you pull toward yourself, it is something you are continuously expressing. The outer world functions as a mirror. It reflects back the state you consistently inhabit within. This is why effort alone cannot produce lasting change. If we don't think positively for a moment or repeat affirmations without feeling and see little effect. The mirror does not respond to what you say you want, it responds to what you assume yourself to be. When you grasp this, responsibility returns to its proper place, not as blame, but as power. You no longer need to chase outcomes. You no longer need to persuade the world to cooperate. You simply shift your internal position and the reflection adjusts naturally. If you consistently experience resistance, delays, or disappointment, it is not because life is opposing you. It is because the inner state being mirrored is one of struggle or uncertainty. The world is not judging that state, it is faithfully reproducing it. Once you realize this, frustration dissolves because you see that nothing is broken. Everything is functioning precisely as it should. Reflection is automatic. You do not have to monitor it. Just as a mirror cannot choose what it shows, life cannot choose what it reflects. When you internally accept yourself as supported, valued, and favored, experiences begin echoing that acceptance back to you. People respond differently. Situations soften, timing improves, not because the world has shifted, but because you have. This also explains why trying to fix the outside often feels exhausting. You are addressing the reflection rather than the source. You attempt to control conversations, outcomes, or reactions, but the inner assumption remains unchanged. The mirror adjusts only when the one before it adjusts. You do not need to imagine every detail. You need to feel into a new identity. Ask yourself quietly, who would I be if this were already resolved? That feeling, calm, relief, certainty, confidence, is the state you start reflecting. The clears throat world then aligns with it. The mind may resist this simplicity. It may ask, what about action? Action still occurs, but it flows from the state you inhabit. When you reflect confidence, your actions are confident. When you reflect certainty, your decisions are clear. Action becomes an extension of being, not a substitute for it. There is great freedom in this understanding. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for permission. You stop measuring progress solely by appearances. Instead, you focus inward, knowing that every sustained inner shift will produce an outer echo. As this awareness deepens, you become more selective about the states you entertain. You notice how quickly moods, assumptions, and inner dialogue shape your experiences, and rather than resisting them, you gently guide them. You are not here to attract a better life someday. You are here to reflect the state of fulfillment now, and the mirror of life will follow. One of the mind's most subtle traps is the belief that evidence must come before certainty. You are often taught consciously or unconsciously to wait for signs, results, or confirmation before relaxing into confidence. But life does not operate that way. The order is always the same. Decision first, proof later. When this order is reversed, progress slows and fulfillment feels distant. A decision is not a dramatic declaration. It is a quiet internal conclusion, clears throat. It is the moment you stop asking if something will happen and accept internally that it is already settled. From that moment, your inner conversations change, your reactions evolve, your expectations shift, and without conscious effort, you begin moving through life as someone who already knows the outcome. Waiting for proof keeps you anchored in uncertainty. It signals to life that the state has not yet been accepted. Life responds faithfully by keeping it at a distance. This is not punishment, it is precision. Life can only confirm what you have already embraced internally. When you decide first, something powerful occurs. The nervous urgency to check, worry, or control begins to dissolve. You stop scanning the environment for reassurance. Instead, you carry a knowing that does not require validation. This state is calm, grounded, and magnetic. The mind may resist committing to a decision without evidence. It may say, be realistic or wait until you're sure. But certainty is not sourced from facts. It thinks from assumption. Facts are reflections of prior assumptions. To create something new, you must step beyond what is currently visible. You must trust that the unseen will align with your internal state. When you act from this space, your life flows naturally. Your decisions are clear, and your presence becomes magnetic. The outer world follows the quiet confidence you already hold. This understanding transforms mornings into sacred gateways. What you assume internally each day shapes the events, people, and experiences that appear. It is not magic or coincidence. It is the natural alignment between inner state and outer experience. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the director of your internal stage, and life mirrors your choices faithfully. Every sustained inner shift has a corresponding outer echo. When you consistently occupy a state of calm, certainty, and ease, the world reflects those qualities back to you effortlessly. The subtle mastery lies in noticing the mirror, not forcing it. The reflection always aligns with your chosen internal state. When you recognize this, life becomes less about striving and more about being. You stop seeking approval, chasing results, or proving yourself. Instead, you move through each day embodying the identity you wish to express. Challenges, setbacks, and delays lose their grip because your inner assumption is unshakable. You navigate life from a state of trust, knowing that the world is responding precisely to what you have decided to accept internally. This is why decisive inner acceptance can feel uncomfortable at first. You are stepping out of alignment with appearances and into alignment with intention. Yet, this discomfort is temporary. As soon as the decision stabilizes, the body relaxes, the inner tension fades, and life begins reorganizing itself to match the new conclusion. Proof does not rush in immediately, and it does not need to. The unseen always moves first. Conversations align, opportunities form, timing adjusts, and pieces begin to arrange themselves in ways you could not have logically anticipated. Then, one day, almost casually, the proof appears, not as a miracle you strained for, but as a natural outcome. If you find yourself repeatedly searching for signs, gently return to the decision. Signs are echoes, not causes. The cause is always the inner agreement you made. Reaffirm it quietly, not with effort, but with calm certainty. A true decision is final. It does not argue with doubt. It outgrows it. Doubt may still pass through the mind, but it no longer dictates your state. You are not suppressing uncertainty. You are standing in something deeper. Living this way changes how you experience time. What once felt delayed no longer feels heavy. You trust the unfolding because you have already accepted the end. This trust is not passive, it is active alignment. When you understand that proof follows decision, you stop postponing peace. You stop living in suspense. You stop negotiating with life. Instead, you settle inwardly, and life mirrors that inner settlement outwardly. Decide first. Let life catch up. Because once the decision is made, the outcome is no longer a question. It is simply a matter of appearance. Most people treat gratitude as a reaction, something you express after something good has happened. But true gratitude is far more potent than that. It is not a response to external events. It is a state of being. Gratitude is the inner feeling that nothing is missing, that the desire has already been fulfilled, that the matter is settled within. And because life mirrors inner states, this sense of completion becomes the cause of tangible results. When you feel gratitude before evidence appears, you are not pretending. You are occupying the emotional position of fulfillment. You are standing in the end of the experience, rather than waiting through the process. This is why gratitude is so effective. It leaves no room for doubt, effort, or struggle. You cannot be grateful and searching at the same time. The moment gratitude becomes natural, the inner tension around wanting dissolves. There is no urgency, no pressure, no constant mental checking. You are no longer asking when it will happen because gratitude implies it already has. This quiet implication speaks more strongly to life than words or affirmations ever could. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to sufficiency, not by force but by recognition. You begin to notice harmony instead of fiction, flow instead of delay, and as your attention changes, your experience follows. What you acknowledge inwardly begins to expand outwardly. This does not mean you must feel overly excited or positive. True gratitude is often calm and steady. It feels like relief. It clears throat. Feels like settling into something secure. It feels like exhaling after holding your breath too long. This is the feeling life responds to most consistently. When gratitude is present, you stop trying to control outcomes. You trust the unfolding. You allow timing to work in your favor. This surrender is not weakness. It is alignment. It signals that you are no longer standing in opposition to your desire. If the mind brings up doubts or reminders of what is missing, gratitude gently redirects it. You do not argue with the thought, you simply return to the feeling that it is done. Over time, this feeling stabilizes, and the outer world begins to echo it back in subtle and then obvious ways. Gratitude also transforms identity. You no longer see yourself as someone hoping for change, but as someone who lives in completion. This shift affects how you speak, move, and respond. Others sense it, situations adjust to it, life opens to it. Life, it is essential to understand that gratitude is not about ignoring challenges. It is about choosing the final state over temporary appearances. You acknowledge what is visible without granting it authority. Your inner state remains anchored in fulfillment. As gratitude deepens, manifestation becomes effortless. Snorts. You are no longer trying to make something happen. You are allowing what has already been accepted to appear. This is why gratitude often produces results faster than effort. It removes resistance entirely. When you live in gratitude, you stop chasing outcomes and start receiving confirmations. Life meets you where you are, and where you are is complete. Gratitude is not a reward at the end of a journey. It is the doorway. Step into it, and the world will follow. Every inner shift begins with a decision, but it is persistence that allows that decision to take root and become visible. Many people assume once, feel hopeful for a moment, and then abandon the state when the outer world does not immediately reflect it. But life does not respond to fleeting moods. It responds to the state you consistently return to. Persistence is not forcing belief or suppressing doubt. It is gentle loyalty to the assumption you have chosen, even when appearances suggest otherwise. You are not fighting the world. You are refusing to let temporary reflections redefine your inner position. This quiet steadiness is what produces results. The outer world is always slightly delayed. It reflects past assumptions, not present ones. This delay is not a flaw. It is the bridge between inner change and outer confirmation. Clears throat. When you understand this, you stop interpreting delay as failure. You recognize it as evidence that a shift has already occurred and is unfolding. When you persist in assumption, your inner conversations change. You no longer react emotionally to every sign or lack of sign. You remain anchored. This anchoring creates coherence between thought, feeling, and expectation. And coherence is powerful. Doubt may still arise, but persistence means you do not give doubt a home. You notice it, clears throat, then gently return to the assumption you have chosen. Over time, the assumption becomes natural. It stops feeling like something you are trying to do and starts feeling like who you are. This is when manifestation becomes inevitable. Life cannot indefinitely contradict a stable inner state. The mirror must adjust. People respond differently. Circumstances shift. Opportunities appear. Often these changes feel ordinary when they happen. Not dramatic, but perfectly aligned. Persistence also shields you from emotional exhaustion. Instead of riding highs and lows, you remain centered. You stop measuring progress by the day or hour. You trust the process because you understand the law behind it. Many abandon their assumption at the most critical point, just before it solidifies into fact. They look too soon. They check too often. In doing so, they slip back into uncertainty. Persistence means you stop checking and start knowing. This knowing is not loud. It does not need external reassurance. It is calm, settled, and patient. And patience here is not waiting. It is confidence in inevitability. As persistence deepens, effort falls away. You no longer repeat affirmations to convince yourself. You simply return to the feeling of completion whenever your attention drifts. This return is enough. Eventually, the assumption becomes your default state, and when that happens, the outer world has no choice but to conform. What was once imagined becomes experienced. What was once assumed becomes visible. Persistence is the silent force behind every transformation. Not intensity, not struggle, but loyalty to the inner truth you have chosen. Remain faithful, remain calm, and let life reveal what has already been decided within. Now remain still for a moment. Notice how nothing needs to be added. Nothing needs proof. You have already chosen a new inner position. That choice has set unseen forces into motion. From this state, life responds naturally. Doors open without struggle, answers appear without searching. What once felt delayed now moves. Or thinking for this state, life responds naturally. Doors open without struggle, answers appear without searching. What once felt delayed now moves. With exlaged tears me. Carry this feeling as you move through the day. Let it shape your thoughts, your tone, and your expectations. Not with tension, with calm certainty. You do not need to watch the clock. You do not need to search for signs. The assumption has been made and life has heard it. Today is aligned. Today is supported. And what you have quietly accepted within is now becoming visible without. It is done. Thank yourself for these moments of stillness. Thank yourself for choosing awareness over worry. And thank yourself for beginning the day from a place of inner power. If this message resonates, carry it forward. Return to it whenever you need realignment. Remember, the state you occupy within is always creating the world you experience.